Okay, so we're going to work on the challenge 4 for Java, and that's creating the ball from going from left to right in a downward motion and changing from the color red to the color green. So what we'll need to have open is we'll need the challenge to be open, and we will need the turtle tone. Because the directions suggest that we should have use some of the code from the chapter in 6.3, if we go to 6 and then we go down to the 6.3, we'll copy and paste that code. Now, we shouldn't copy and paste code without having read the chapter first. That's usually pretty obvious when a student's having a hard time. They don't understand too much. It's because they haven't done the reading. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new class. And it's supposed to be Chapter 6A, but because I already have one of those in my package here, I'm going to call it Chapter 6A1 so they don't compete over classes. And then I get this. I have my package statement, then I have my class header. As always, when we copy and paste over stuff, we're going to get the class header and the two class braces, and we're going to paste. Now, we have tons of errors. The first ones are obviously the numbers. So we're going to delete all those. Okay, so that gets rid of most of them. Something I want to make sure is important to you, because I see some students messing up with this at this level, is the order in which we put certain code. So our package declaration or statement comes first, followed by our import statements, and then our class header. Sometimes I'll see students have errors, and that's because their import statements or their package statement is after the class header here. And our class header is the line that starts with public class and then has more information. First thing I like to do, as always, is I like to put the braces on separate lines. That helps break it up. It helps make it more visually easy to sort of see what's what. If you notice, if I highlight a brace, the joining brace highlights as well, so I've got this brace highlighted right now. If I go up, this one has a highlight around it. So I also have an error right now, and that's at the class level. I know that it's because I'm supposed to have a class called Chapter 6A1, but it only says moving ball. So I'm going to change that accordingly, Chapter 6A1, and now that error is gone. If I run this program, it does this. It opens up in a very tiny window, and the ball moves. And it never changes color. The challenge for me is to make sure that it opens up in a 500 by 500 window. It says see challenge 3 for how. So if I go back to challenge 3, and I read through this, I remember that it says here, the first line in your run method should be this dot set size 500 by 500. And that this makes the applet window actually 500. So I'm going to copy that line of code, go back to here, and make that my first line in the run. So I'm going to just see if that's successful. So now I'm hoping my window opens up in a 500 by 500, and it does. Still doesn't change color though. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a look at the while statement, because the problem is we look at it as a programming problem as opposed to just a real life problem. I know I need two things to happen when I read the directions, and those directions are while the ball's less than 250y, it should be red. Then while the ball is greater than 250y, it should be green. So my while statement should reflect that. So if I go back to here, I'm going to take this first one, I'm going to say while less than, actually I'll just use the symbol, 250. I want it to be green, I'm sorry, red, and I want it to move, right? So in my while statement, I need that parameter to reflect at least y, or when. And the y is, well, while it's less than 250. So I need to find out the y position of the ball while y is less than 250. Obviously, this doesn't work just yet. It has an error because we have no idea what y is. So I do know that the ball is a G-oval object. I can tell because right here when I assign that variable ball, I say that it's a G-oval. So the very first thing I'd like to do here in order to find that y position is I'd like to go back to the book, to the turtle tome. I use the API for the ACM so I can find the G-oval. If I click on the G-oval class, I can see lots of methods here. And I'm looking for one that lets me know what the y position is. Now, after a little bit of looking, I can see that right here, get y, returns the y coordinate of the object. So if I clicked on it, it would give me an example of what it looks like in the code. It might be something like, whatever that name is of that object, get y. So in my case, the object's name is ball. That's the variable name for the object. So if I go back to here and I say while ball dot get y is less than 250, do these things. All right, so I'm just going to test it out to see what it does before I get too complicated with colors and whatnot. So the window opens up to 500, 500, the ball's moving, and it looks pretty good so far. And then it stops for some reason. It wasn't my intention, but now it does, and I wonder why it does. So the answer to that is I tell it while the ball's y position is less than 250, do these things. Pause and move. Pause and move, pause and move. Well, it probably stops because it gets to 250 and then it no longer has any directions. The best way to find that out is system.out.println. This is the y. Obviously, I have to put that in quotations. This is the y position. And in order to print that variable, I need to say plus ball dot get y. So now this code should work. I'm printing out a variable after the line, this is the y position. If I click on this, I'm going to watch, hopefully it opens up in a 500 by 500. I'm getting system.out.println, and once it gets to 249, which is less than 250, it runs. Once it gets to 250, it stops because it's no longer meeting this criteria here. So then I know I need another while. So I'm going to go after this while, and my notes would be while the ball y is greater, and I'm going to say greater than 249. All right, I need to be green, and I need to move still. So now I'm going to try to program that. And I'm going to use what happened up top, or that while up top, to sort of be the model there. So while the ball dot get y is greater than 249, opening brace, closing brace. I'm just going to copy and paste this because I want it to move. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste all three lines of these code here. And I'm going to, just for visual reference, I'm going to make the this and this string capital so I can see that when it prints out. So I basically tell it to do the same thing, just keep moving. The only difference should be the system.out.println down here now should be different. So I'm watching it go, and well, now it does that capital THIS. So the positive thing is now I can differentiate between when it's at a particular location. Now I need to change the color. And the easiest clue is just looking up here. I see that I made it red in the first place, or that the code made it red, because the RGB value, red, green, blue, is 255.00. So if I take this line of code, I copy it, and I bring it down to this while because now I want it different, right? So I paste that, and I get rid of the red, and I make it all, oh, well, that's blue. I actually want it green, I believe. Now if I do this, I'm hoping that it'll turn green for me. And that's the answer to coding that particular program. So it's really important to notice the difference between the whiles, and this is the important part. This is the literal part that the computer knows the difference between. So I gave it very explicit directions as to when to do something. And then inside that, I told it what to do while this was true. Hopefully that helps you out with your while loops.